All right, rolling.
I have time to clean this, right, Carter?
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Build breakdown, build breakdown. The whole bike, of course, is decked out in Betterbolts. What's up guys, doing another build breakdown here. We're gonna be doing Jake's Crux build here. So I'll let Jake take it from here.
I'm the latest hire, or no, Blake is, over at Betterbolts. This is the bike that got me into Betterbolts. Kind of gone through and built everything piece by piece. I got it when I was working at Specialized, and Betterbolts got it to here. I've run quite a few things. Despite the hat, this is not my first rodeo. I have had a couple Cruxes before this one. I've done a lot of 1x setups, a couple 2x setups. For this one, I wanted something that kind of does everything because I was planning on this being pretty much my only drop bar bike for a while. That's not how it worked out. I have a couple others, thankfully, not because I am rich, because I'm financially irresponsible, which I think is more fun. So because it was supposed to be my one and only bike, I put a 46 up front, which a lot of people are going to disagree with me on. And for them, they're right. But I like taking this on group rides, and on the road, those group rides can go pretty fast. So I actually needed something that can spin up into the 30s. I've tried a 38, a 40, a 42, a 44, a 46, a 48, and a 50. 46 is the smallest thing that I feel comfortable spinning fast on a group ride.
So explain what you mean by that. What do you mean you need to run a 46 tooth just to be able to get on your group rides?
So on road group rides, when there's like 20 or 30 guys on pavement, you'll be in a peloton. You're going to kind of be like shuffling through. Everyone will be having a rotation, pulling off the wheel. As soon as you hit a downhill and the group starts rotating through, the speeds typically get 30 to 40 miles an hour. With the smaller rings, you're spinning out, which means you'll be all the way in the smallest gear, and you won't have enough gear to keep up with everyone else. So
how fast do you usually go? Like, what's your top end on here?
Fastest I've gone on this bike was actually 2 days ago. I was in some very steep hills on pavement. I hit 52.8 miles an hour. You can check my Strava. I just did. That way I knew I'd get it right for the video. So I actually tried a lot of different cassettes on my other bikes. I've done 11 speed, pretty much every setup. I've done 1128, 1130, 1136, 1140, 1142, and then I went to 12 speed, all on that other Crux I had. So I got to try pretty much everything, and I found that when you're off-road, you want at least a 1-to-1 ratio for your easiest, preferably a little bit more. So 46 with a 50 gets you past that 1-to-1. If it were 1-to-1, it'd be 46, 46. The Explorer, you can get pretty close. You can get the 10 to 44 with SRAM's Explorer. With Eagle, you can get 1050 or 1052. The reason I want 1050 instead of 1052, because I did consider it, and I did actually try it on another bike. The jump is a little too big from the 42, the 11, the 11th gear, and then the 50, the 12th gear right up here. If you jump from 42 to 52, you actually have about a 3 mile an hour, 4 mile an hour difference when you jump those gears. And when you're really tight, battling someone out on a climb, if they have like a Shimano GRX, let's say, they can go up one gear and go right in the middle of that 4 mile an hour jump and start to pull away from you. And if you downshift, you'll be pedaling too slow. No matter how fast you spin, they're going to pull away. And if you downshift one more, you're actually spinning too hard. And that's a pretty tricky place to be. I like the 50. Cuts that gap kind of about in half, not quite. But you can actually stay in those battles a little bit better, I find. And that's always the debate between 2x and 1x. I really like 1x just because I like that kind of locked in feeling that you get from 1x. I like a narrow wide chainring, which is where each tooth, the profile changes between narrow and wide. So you have your narrow and your wide, and that fits into the chain that much better. So you're that much more locked in. If you have a 2x, you don't get that because it has to shift. So,
And what he means by narrow wide and locked in is that if you look here at the chain, the gaps in between, one is wider and then one is skinny and then one is wide and one is skinny. So narrow wide means that on the chain ring, one tooth is skinny, one tooth is wide, and you get a perfect interface with your chain. It's very common to see on mountain bikes. It's pretty much standard on anything that's 1x, because you can't put shift ramps on a chain ring like this. So you can't shift between, different chain rings in front, but this has extremely good chain retention. So if you're going over off-road or anything bumpy, it's very unlikely that your chain will come off when you're running something like this.
These are Silca titanium cages. I think they call it bourbon smoke. I really like them. I think they went really well with that kind of mustard yellow with the gold. And then it somehow also matches the tan wall, which I really like.
So these are titanium.
Yes, those are Ti. Just like all the hardware. Another thing that I did that not a lot of people do, which I'm really surprised about, is this third cage. And what I use this for is I have the specialized storage keg. That's where I keep my spare, a couple extra snacks, a $5 bill, multi-tool, a tire lever, bit of everything. And I also have a second multi-tool underneath. I left the SRAM rival on there because this started out as a specialized Crux expert. But I really just wanted the color. So pretty much the only thing stock on it is the brake shifters, levers, and brake calipers. And the reason I left those stock is because I really wanted them to be black. That way you can get the black and the gold.
Red is silver, right?
Yeah. The red, you get the chrome, and I didn't want the contrast with the gold. I just didn't think it'd look as good. I do want to address it while we're talking about matching consistency, because someone will comment on it, is this right here. So what underneath here is actually an orange salmon weird color. I did not agree with that choice from Specialized. This is my third different vinyl I've tried. It keeps coming off. I will find one that works eventually, but that is why you see duct tape holding it on. It was all I had in my car. I was going on a ride. I didn't want it flapping about. So that will look better. So the reason I did this bike all green and yellow is because it reminded me of a Rolex, specifically a Datejust in yellow gold, with the kind of like oak green dial that Rolex is really famous for because that's their colors. And this is actually cheaper than the watch. I cannot afford the watch. I just like the way they look. I like all the mechanical stuff in it. I think they're really cool, but maybe one day. The tires are the S-Works Pathfinders. It comes stock with the Pros, which I think are what you have in yours.
Yes, I have the Pathfinder Pro.
And the Pro is actually a little bit taller tread pattern. So it's the same pattern, just all the knobs and that center patch is taller. This one is a little bit more lower profile, a little bit faster rolling. And the reason I did that is because I am a big fan of wide, fast-rolling tires. I think a lot of the grip and comfort comes from the width, not just the tread pattern. And I have to ride a lot of road to get to the trails that I ride this bike on. So I need something that rolls really efficiently. And I ran both, and I feel like these are a little bit faster rolling efficiency-wise, but I think the other ones have a little bit more grip.
A very common theme with all of Jake's bikes that I've been noticing the longer he's worked here. Speed is almost always something he says. Pretty much everything he talks about, tire choice, gearing choice, everything he's talking about faster, faster, faster.
Yeah, I like building stuff for speed. Not that I'm fast, I just like going fast. I have to be convinced to race. I'm not a huge fan of racing. I just really like riding my bike. That is the S-Works SL stem. It is a 110, and I do want to talk about that.
So 110 mil stem. What size frame is this?
This is a 58. I have some pretty long legs. I'm a little over 6 foot.
So a little over 6 foot, size 58 with a 110 mil stem.
So on the previous Crux, the top tube length is actually 10 mil shorter. So I went with my old measurements and did a 110 stem. I should not have done that. My old boss even warned me and I didn't listen. I should have bought 100, I bought a 110. Right now the bike is barely too long. I am gonna fix that. It's gonna get a different stem, but it'll probably be something very similar. Bars, I went with a 40. The reason I do 40 mil bars is because all my road bikes I run 40, and why I run all my road bikes 40 is my shoulders. If you were getting a suit jacket fitted, I'm a 40. That's when my shoulders line up. I find I line up best on a 40. That's so you can tuck your elbows in a little bit better, get a little bit more aero. At first, it's a bit tricky. I have run 46, 44, 42, 40, and 38. This is what works best for me. Most gravel guys go a little bit wider, but the more gravel gets popular, the more group rides there are. I find the wider bars, you can't navigate through those group rides as easy because you do start bumping people a little bit faster.
I do also like what you said there about consistency. It's really important to be comfortable on the bike and to be comfortable with your bike setup. And if you have 4 road bikes and they all have different width bars, it's going to feel weird every time you switch between bikes. So by going with a consistent size on all of your bikes, you end up with a much better feel when you're hopping between bikes. I'm the same way with my mountain bikes. I've got quite a few, and I run almost the same stem length, bar combo, everything cockpit wise, just to make sure that when I'm hopping between bikes and switching between bikes, they at least feel somewhat similar, even though they're different bikes, maybe it be travel numbers or geometry. At least the brakes, the cockpit, all that is very similar. It makes it a lot more comfortable to ride.
Yeah, and the reason I got really into all that is I was actually hit by a car a few years ago. And so I noticed when I was changing bikes, the more the setups were different, the more I gave my back problems. I still have back problems, but the more consistent my bikes have gotten, the less I have problems, which is why I'm really big on keeping everything consistent. Before we leave the cockpit, I did want to mention the GoPro mount, or not GoPro mount, the Garmin mount. This is a small company in Ireland. They're called JRC Components. The reason I went with it is they actually sell them in gold. I think they're sold out right now, and JRC happens to be my initials. I thought it would be a great little touch. Wolf Tooth did a couple little things on it. I did the matching cap to the seat post collar because...
So we got a Wolf Tooth top cap, Wolf Tooth seat post collar there.
I think that's the one bolt that isn't ours on the bike. And
yeah, the only bolt that we don't have on this bike is going to be that seat post collar bolt, but luckily Wolf Tooth also makes one in gold. So stock, it comes with Terra C's. I did go a little weight conscious on the build for some things like the wheels. I do find they make a very big performance difference as far as acceleration out of corners goes. These are the Terra CLXs, not the Terra Cs. The big difference on these ones is you get hand-laid carbon instead of machine-laid carbon, and you get the ceramic hubs, front and rear, which I thought was really important. If you're a new rider, you're not going to notice the difference. If you've been riding for quite a while and you've done a lot of different setups, you will start to notice. Another thing I tried on these is the reserve valves. I do really like them. They're different. You can really feel the difference. And for sealant, I run the Silca, I forget what they call it specifically. It's the stuff that's got the carbon strands in it. I find on any high pressure applications, it works really, really good. So I haven't heard of that before. It's carbon infused or carbon strands inside of the sealant? Yes. So if you were to pull this apart, I'm not going to do that for this video. You would actually see these long strands of carbon fiber that they put in the sealant itself. And that helps plug the bigger holes. I actually got a bigger hole on this somewhere, and I have no idea where it is now because it plugged it within seconds. This is the Supercaz bar tape. I believe it's another Specialized owned company, so it matches really well with all the Specialized stuff. And I put the Wolf Tooth bar end plugs, forgot to mention those. They match the top cap. Oh yeah, every little detail here. That is awesome.
Thank you. One thing that is not super matchy-matchy yet that I would like a company to do is make this brake mount right here in like a champagne gold. I think that'd be perfect, but no one does that yet.
That looks really similar to something that I thought I saw out in the machine shop the other day.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if we had it.
Well, might need to stay tuned for those.
For cranks, I actually went with the new Force V2 crank set. And I did that because I wanted a power meter. And the new one, you can get a spindle power meter option. That allowed me to run this chainring. I really wanted this chainring, but all their previous gen power meters typically run a spider style power meter. and I really wanted that ring. So to do that, I had to wait and get the new crank. And then another cool little bit on the crank that I added that isn't stock is if you come around on the other side, I did a Kogel lock ring in gold to match everything else.
You know, we haven't actually gone over that. This ring here is pretty trick looking. Who makes this ring?
The ring is from a company called Garbaruk. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They're a company out of Poland. I have run a lot of their stuff. I've run their pulley wheels, a few of their chain rings. I am very happy with the machine quality on it. I will say they run much taller teeth than most brands, and the bike is pretty loud once you first install it. So something I always tell people is wait until you've ridden the bike for a few weeks, and then the teeth will start to wear in, and then the bike quiets right back down. So you just got to be a little patient with it. So I'll start right below it, then work up. Stock, it has a Roval Terra seat post, but I noticed on the S-Works ones, they actually give you an Alpinist, so I swapped it out for the Alpinist. A little bit of weight savings, and it's high up, which means lower center of gravity, so that's why I went ahead and changed that. We do carry the hardware for that, so hardware is in. And then the seat itself is the Mirror Pro. I did the Mirror Pro because it has the tie rails rather than the carbon fiber, although I might swap it eventually and put this seat on something else I'm building soon that's a bit more likely to be crashed. And I don't want to put carbon rails on that one, and I happen to have a seat from another build with carbon rails. This one I don't crash as much, so it'll probably get that eventually.
You better knock on some wood right now. There you go.
And we do have the hardware for all the specialized saddles as well, which we have right in there.
Right. So lastly, this is a expert, or it was an expert when it started, which means that that's got 10R carbon for the frame.
Yes.
Whereas the S-Works is known to have 12R carbon, in fact 12R, which is specialized custom layup. And the S-Works comes in just a little bit lighter. Jake, what are the difference between the 10R versus the 12R carbon?
I think the 10R is 840, 860 grams for frame weight. I think that's for a large on the website. The S-Works, I believe, is 685. Do not quote me. I think I'm close. So you save about a half a pound with that S-Works frame, but I really wanted this color.
So is it any stiffer or any difference, or is it really just weight?
You know, that is also a debate. I think they feel exactly the same.
And would you even want stiffer? Like, wouldn't some frame compliance kind of help you off-road?
So yes and no. I feel like if it was to be stiffer, I would want a slightly stiffer bottom bracket, but I don't want to lose any compliance. So if you're watching it Specialized, don't change anything. You got a great thing going. Some people would argue stiffer is better just for power transfer. I don't see the need. I feel like people are getting a little too nitty gritty.
So overall, you're pretty happy with...
Oh, I'm thrilled. I also had the Athos, and when I heard this was like an Athos with more tire clearance, I immediately wanted one.
So that's actually funny you say that. I'm selling my Athos because I got a Crux.
Exactly.
Because it's literally an Athos that can fit bigger tires.
Yes.
So it's one of the best bikes I've had. I really, really like this Crux.
Yeah, after I got this, I sold my Athos because I was like, too close of a bike, got something else.
With all this talk about lightweight, fast, 10R carbon, 12R carbon, let's see what the weight on this thing ends up being.
1710.
1710. That's not bad at all.
I'm pretty happy with that, especially with the extra
three
cage,
bottle cages,
extra tool,
solid chainring up front, and a little aero disc, a mountain drivetrain, an extra tool. This is quite a bit of equipment sitting on this bike at 1710. That's not bad at all.
And there is places I could lose weight, but I just like the rideability. That's all I want, and that is with pedals. That's another thing people don't weigh with pedals. You're not going to ride it without pedals. Stop
yeah, I always say weigh the bike how you're going to ride the bike.
Exactly.
There's no point to weigh it and then tell someone that my bike's 16 pounds, but that's without pedals or sealant in the tires or chain lube or anything like that. If you're gonna weigh the bike, weigh it with the way that it's going to get ridden.
Yeah. I think we're going to piss people off in the comments on that one.
Might have been a hot take.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for taking us through your Crux build. This is one serious bike here, so.
Thank you for being my boss, Carter. It's been fantastic.